the same thing from them. They don't go to domestic violence situations where pot is the primary drug. No. They don't go into burglaries and see armed robberies or bank robberies being pulled off by people who smoke pot. You don't see people who smoke pot sitting on the street corners on a Saturday night trying to sell their body in order to make money to go out and score an eighth of an ounce of marijuana. No. What you see are people who have pot giving people who don't have pot, and then suffering because of that. That's what you see. In my particular case, I furnished 3/4 of an ounce of marijuana to a terminally ill cancer patient who had a recommendation from his doctor to use it. I ended up with a 4-year state prison sentence. Fortunately for me, the 4th District Court of Appeal, the same court that's listening to the Anaheim case and then stayed the Lake Forest and Dana Point closures, is the same court that ruled and reversed my conviction and overturned my conviction. So the 4th District Court of Appeal has been very pro-cannabis and especially pro-medical cannabis. They were also the ones that upheld the Superior Court ruling against the County of San Diego and the County of San Bernardino that prompted them to go all the way to the Supreme Court, where we all know that the Supremes didn't want to listen to their case, which is fine with me. Because basically now what we're able to tell them is, hey, quit making us jump through the hoops and the circles, sit down with us like Proposition asked, so that a community effort can be reached by people from our community, the cannabis community, people from law enforcement, people from local governments. We can sit down and determine how we're going to legally be able to dispense this. I hope the 4th rules. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the 4th will rule in our favor in the Anaheim case. It'll eliminate the bans and the moratoriums that are currently being affected against us in various cities. But I also hope that once that happens, that those various cities realize that we're here, we smoke pot, put up with us.
Do you think we might have any possible support? I'm looking at a lot of veterans coming back from Iraq, coming back from Afghanistan, coming back from Vietnam, have post-traumatic stress disorders. Do you think we have any chance of encouraging any support by focusing on the veterans who have these problems and helping?
Well, I'm a Vietnam veteran. I have post-traumatic stress. I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress by not 1 but 3 independent psychiatrists. I went through the government's PTSD program, which is totally ridiculous. It's ludicrous. The government wants to give you either Paxil or I can't think of the other one. It starts with a Z. Zoloft. They want to give you psychosomatic drugs in order for you to chemically change your brain and its reaction to post-traumatic stress. Post-traumatic stress affects each individual differently. Some people who suffer from post-traumatic stress have nightmares and cold sweats and wake up every 15-20 minutes from a sleep. Some can't sleep. Some are still out in the woods and in the jungles, and you can't bring them back. My post-traumatic stress is no different than the post-traumatic stress suffered from someone in Korea. Someone suffered post-traumatic stress in World War I or World War II, and it's no different with those who suffer from it being in Iraq or Afghanistan. What I would like the government to do is honestly look at the Israeli program where they give each and every one of their soldiers cannabis when they return from combat. And they start a PTSD treatment program immediately upon return. They don't let you out and off on the streets by yourself so that you can kill yourself. We have more suicides. We have more amputees. We have more domestic violence. We have more alcohol and more drug abuse among the soldiers returning back from Iraq and from Afghanistan than at any time in the history of our nation. Any time. And this is including Vietnam and Korea and World War II and World War I. Give me a break. Give me a break. This is ridiculous. 5 minutes.
5 minutes? Wow.
Good. We got a lot of time.
Okay. Now we're going to come up with some good questions.
But in my opinion, I think the government is wrong for not allowing at least one VA hospital to conduct one study that will at least allow a certain amount of that study to use and a certain amount to use the chemicals and see what the difference between the two are. I cannot function without my pot. I can't. I can't. And it's primarily important for me to find the right blend, the right amount of cannabinoids but I can do that. I've been doing it. I've been doing it every year now since 1997. I don't know why they don't treat me like the adult that I am. I'm 60 years old. I should be able to know how to medicate. Number one. Number two, I'm using a substance that will not kill me. It's almost guaranteed that it won't. It'll make you go night-night before you even get anywhere close. And the amount of toxicity required, you would have to smoke pounds. Not ounces, not grams, but pounds. And believe me, there is no human being on this planet that can smoke themselves into death. You will go sleep first. That's the built-in defensive mechanism that pot has. It puts you night-night. And hey, when I was a kid, we grew up, pot was known for three things: horny, hungry, and sleepy. Not necessarily in that order, but those three things. As we have looked at this plant, learned how to produce this plant, how to grow it and make it better and more stronger, not more potent. It's always been potent. We just learned how to let it grow better. We learned how to feed it. We learned how to water it. We learned how to care for it. We learned that it needs lumens, that it loves lumens. If it can't go outside and you're inside, it needs lights that are going to give it lumens. That it's photosynthesis. It grows in nighttime. It takes in energy during the day. That's why we vary the lights. That's why we... And these growers are little scientists that most people won't even give them credit for being. These people can graft. They can clone. They can crossbreed. They can make males. They can make pollen. They can do just about anything they want to do, and yet the government will sit there and grow their little, 14-acre plot or whatever it is in Biloxi with their 3 strains of Mexican commercial and tell everybody under the sun that this is the cannabis that's going to be, good for everybody. No, it's not. It's not. Most medicinals that I know blend. Most medicinals I know you can't get a straight joint from because it's blended. It's got this in there, it's got this in there, it's got that in there, and it's a combination of all 3, all 2, whatever. So basically what happens is that you learn, you, the individual, you learn how to medicate. You learn how to blend. You learn how to buy. You learn how to look at it. So it's an education. And what we do at CARE is we take novices and we teach them the basics. Because like Dennis Perone once said, if there's 300,000 people growing pot, then there's 300,000 ways to grow pot. If there's 300,000 people using pot, there's 300,000 ways to use pot. Basically, maybe there's only 10 actual ways that you can use it, or 5 actual, but I'm sure you can come up with ways of using it. I know people who sprinkle it on cereal. I know people who make cookies. I know people who make brownies. I know Brownie Mary, did know Brownie Mary when she was with us. And, she made great brownies. And it was through her that we learned how to make butter, and it was that butter that we learned how to bake with. Medicinals are constantly looking for things that are going to help them, period, end of story. We don't look at it as recreational. We look at it as medicinal, but we don't oppose it as recreational. I would much rather see somebody smoking pot than drinking alcohol. I don't know how many bodies I've scraped off of asphalt over 15 years. I don't know how many children I saw get killed. But if you take a 2,200-pound vehicle and you ram it into somebody at 80 miles an hour, I guarantee you something is going to happen, and it's going to be very negative. At the same token, you look at your basic pothead, he's driving the car perfectly. At 35 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, exactly 2.5 car lengths behind the car in front of him, you'd almost swear that he just got out of driving school. Because they're cognizant of their environment. They're cognizant of what they're doing. They don't usually leave when they're so intoxicated that they can't. So, I think in the long run, I would much prefer to see the cannabis age reduced, and I would much prefer to see the $50 tax eliminated, and then I might be really jazzed about Prop 19.
Are there any other state props or state measures that you see that are a stronger chance than what we put together in Prop 19?
Unfortunately, I think the 3 that were out there, they were good in their own ways, but I would have liked to have seen the best of all 3 of those put together in one proposition, and that proposition presented. I don't think that anybody should vote for something because it's the only thing that's on the ballot. I really don't. And just like I don't think anybody should vote for president just because they're an orator or they can talk, or they have, you know, a better vocabulary than the president before them had. I think what you have to look at is the individual and their actions, not their words. Words are cheap. Words were meant to evoke a response. Words do nothing, but actions do. And if we go out there and we pass Proposition 19, yeah, we're going to be in an uphill battle. Brown has already said that he doesn't like it, and I'm sure that he'll probably challenge its constitutionality. At the same token, if the polls are right, it's only the whites that are in favor of its passage. Everybody else is opposed to it. I don't buy into polls. When I went to bed on November the 5th, we were losing Proposition 215. When I got up sometime the next morning, we had won by 56%. All the polls said we didn't have a chance in hell, and yet the polls were wrong. So polls to me are, you know, you take it with a grain of salt.
Okay. Well, so I want to thank you for joining our show tonight, and please come back and visit us again. Please visit our website. That's orangecountynormal.org. You can see these news flicks in there, and you can see also what we're doing in the cities, in the county, in the state to help medical marijuana, to help cannabis freedom.